Welcome to Caternet's Return Ready podcast. I'm James Waldron, and I'm joined for the last episode of the series by Neil Shell, our commercial director. Say hi, Neil.
Hello, James.
So this episode focuses on people and is the final of the 4 pillars that food businesses need to get right as they relaunch their operations. If you're managing a hospitality venue, we've put together a Return Ready hub packed with original research and checklists to ensure you're asking the right questions and genuinely gain control of product, price, place, and people. You can find our free resources at caternet.co.uk, then click on COVID-19 help. Plus, if you stick with us, we'll tell you how you can get 2 free digital recipe cards using your ingredients to put your hospitality business back in the best possible position. So Neil, we've come to the end of our series where we set out to add some colour and to lend some consultancy to the sector at this strange time where food businesses have had to take a long look at their operations. Last time we asked how quickly can your business respond to new trading patterns, and we looked at digital menu publishing and saving time and money with the Eridus One data pool. So this time we're asking, how can I control labour costs? Our focus is to remove manual processes. Too often the organisations we talk to take what looks like an easy option and they cut hours from frontline staff and don't look much further up the chain. So you've given tools to front of house with EPOS, and your finance and payroll have their own systems. So why wouldn't you keep your chefs out of the office and put them back in the kitchen where they do their best work? And you really need a system that can answer, how do I stop drowning in a sea of Google Sheets and Excel and stop chasing emails?
That's right, James. And for leaders and business owners, there are 2 important points from the people checklist, I feel. They were how you can reduce time spent supervising the budget holders and how you can best cut accountancy or bookwork hours as well. I think they're the 2 things that stuck out most to me when looking at our Return Ready hub there. I think dealing with the missed invoice and paperwork is a big issue for most trading locations. It's a common gripe we've seen quite a lot with clients that we speak with. Too many kitchen managers, landlords are placing orders by telephone or via email, which means there's no real record of what deliveries are expected. So it's very difficult to accrue for those costs. This generally results in invoices being missed or forgotten because chefs are just far too busy just doing their prep and service as they need to, certainly at these times, to really deal with the paperwork on the delivery day itself. So it's trying to address that really. These delays really create extra work for everybody involved in the chain because those invoices now need to be accounted for, and sometimes they're uploaded from the delivery notes at a later point, which can often mean out-of-date costings and just figures going in the wrong places really. Paper gets mislaid and sometimes it just then sometimes reappears unexpectedly. I remember a conversation I had with a client when we looked to deploy our software to them, and they were talking about their butcher, and their butcher was a fantastic butcher, great service, great product, great tasting meats that they provided, and a really good supplier that they wanted to hold on to desperately. But their paperwork and their bookwork and their invoicing was not the best, I think was fair to say. So we put the system in to that particular client and really helped that supplier focus on their invoicing a lot better, making it a paperless process between that supplier and their customer, and it alleviated all those problems and to's and fro's that they had, reduced credit requests and disputes, and made things just a hell of a lot better for that client and really hit the key point of that project. So we know that does work for clients in that particular case there. Paperwork and admin, it can spiral if it's not controlled early on. So that was a key point to that particular project, getting that under control and managed effectively. And I think also as well, staying on budget is another ongoing issue for kitchens for sure. There are ways to sort of keep on top of your food costings, as chefs would well know, and to ensure those accurate pricings, you can't be estimating your plates of food no more. It's a big no-no. You need to know where every penny is going, certainly in the current environment we're seeing there as well. It's always sensible to deal with those facts when costing everything on a plate, even down to your last sprinkle of garnish that are going onto those plates, so you know exactly how much it's costing you. Food is money, and money is easily frittered away if you don't stay ahead of this. For the admin teams at the head office function, they need their visibility. They need to see what's going on. They can't be wasting their time trying to predict how transactions and reconciliation is going to affect the cash flow for their management reports. And they need to have this information to hand, easy to digest, and be able to show to relevant people. So if you join these systems up, these teams can prepare P&L statements much more quickly, and no more missing invoices and no more credit notes. Much easier to control their cash flow, which is most important.
I remember the client that you're talking about with the butcher there, and you told me that they would have to close off their financial year with an accrual for invoices and credit notes that they then had to reconcile effectively after they had shut the books on the financial year.
They were actually accruing for just a make-believe figure because they knew the supply would come with some invoices after their financial year had closed. So they were just having a finger in the air guesstimate really in terms of what the butcher would actually invoice them for missing invoices, and then accrue for that cost accordingly. Bizarre, really.
I saw a program with Michel Roux recently where he was behind the scenes at a Parisian brasserie. Just in this one trading location, they had 15 deliveries a day, which was, excellent. It was mostly dealt with shellfish and lobster, amazing French ingredients. But this one scene stuck out at me where they had an entire wall of cork boards and a man whose job it was just to book all of the deliveries in, and he called it his war machine. And there was a back and forth about what happens if you're ill and if you go missing and stuff like this. And I just thought it doesn't need to be this way. They just need to go paperless. This time, we're discussing people and labour pressures. So, chefs are expected to be highly skilled, trained, and advanced cooking professionals, for which a restaurant, bar, or hotel, they can be the heart and soul of the establishment. Good food and reputation are paramount for any successful business in the food service industry, and the chef is often at the forefront of that. That said, it's not all about cooking good food. Chefs have to deal with a whole host of other issues too, meaning the daily headaches can spiral easily and potentially affect performance and also revenue. So, a big question here is, if you're not in a position to adopt new systems, can you simply hire your way out of these pressures?
Yeah, it's a good one, James. I mean, being expected to be a chef, accountant, manager, chief stock taker, you're wearing many different hats there, all rolled into one. And for me, being a chef is all about creating really good food for customers. But sometimes chefs are expected to be experts in several other skills as well that are not usually their main forte, such as being an accountant, as the case in point. Um, they need to be obviously chefs need to be really good with their numbers in terms of costings and such like and planning their rotas, but they also need to stick to their budgets, accounting for spending on stock and ingredients and equipment. And that takes a certain set of mindset to be able to do that. They also need to manage their teams too, and they need to keep on top with stock and inventory processes. This can be a real challenge if most of their training is linked to knife skills and food preparation. I found this an awful lot in my experience. You find the term chef manager or catering manager, and it's a horrible phrase that was brought in probably 20 odd years ago, especially in contract catering, where they were looking to amalgamate skills between a chef and a manager to create a chef manager type role, which then meant that a chef, which is a craft trained profession, then having to pick up numbers. And it's so unfair. It's very much asking like an accountant to cook a three course dinner for 50 covers in a 2 hour time window. They would struggle to do that and apply their skill sets to that. So why should it be the other way around for chefs as well? And then, of course, you've got dealing with food waste. It's another area of concern for chefs and something they're really sort of tightened up on to always under that pressure to keep food waste at a low level, both from a margin point of view, but also from an environmental point of view. There are constant reminders of how much waste the hospitality sector contributes every year. We see that all the time in the press. Food waste is a big one, so there's always a constant pressure on these chefs to use up food within expiry dates, reduce the wastage, and keep dishes new and exciting for consumers. So a real tough job.
So, Neil, it sounds like hiring might be one way out of this, but costly in terms of wages and risks around cultural fit. And I guess if you're going to put the time and effort into hiring and then head chefs or kitchen managers jump to competitors, again, it's just going to end up costing you more in the long term. And I know that you and me have seen job ads for head chefs out in the wild, and they vary between sort of venues and locations, obviously, but between 30 and 40K now. Your business can minimize these costs if they have the right tools to start with and the software, so they can hire kitchen staff with a kind of specific, narrow expectation of skills. And of course, if that is food, then these chefs will be loyal and stay because they're doing what they love. I guess with all that said, though, our question to the sector to look at this week is, how can I control labour costs? So for a limited time, Caternet is offering to take some of these pressures off your hands with 2 free digital recipe cards using your ingredients. And this is, of course, to put your hospitality business back in the best possible position. If you're based in the UK, you can contact us for an informal talk through your kitchen setup. Our team has many decades of operations experience between them, so we'll see how we can help. Go to caternet.co.uk and click on COVID-19 help. Whilst you're there, check out our blog. We cover everything from what happens when a customer becomes an employee to managing your satisfaction data, and is now the time for innovation in casual dining. If you've missed any of our podcast series, you can go back and listen to Product, Price and Place on caternet.co.uk and click on COVID-19 help. But it remains for me to say thank you very much, Neil, for joining us over these 4 podcasts.
Thank you, James. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thanks everyone for listening, and good luck.